Hi, my name's Shawn Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka the Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter fame. I'm going full on fame this week. I feel like you've graduated. I pronounce you famous. I don't really know what famous is, but I'm going to pronounce you famous. If the
I'll
queen
take
can
it.
just knight whoever she wants on our podcast, I can decide who's famous. And it's you this week. And we are very excited because we are nearing the end of season 1 of Legend of Korra, book 1, pardon me. Book 1 air. This is the penultimate episode, which is a word I like to use sometimes. It's called Skeletons in the Closet. And it is a very, well, I don't want to spoil anything. It's a very interesting episode. But before we get to any kind of review, Chris, how are you doing?
Random. I feel like I've never used the word penultimate.
You could be delivering a comedy bit right now where you say, I've never used this word, and then that's beautiful.
Until like wait, say it, Shawn.
Penultimate? So ultimate
Penult.
with a pen in front of it?
Penultimate. Okay.
So if
There we go.
ultimate is like the last or the end, and the pen is just, apparently pen means before.
Penultimate.
Hell, I don't know.
Anyway,
It's weird.
I've never used that word clearly ever before just now. But I never really thought of that word until Game of Thrones, because the Game of Thrones penultimate episodes were always like the best ones that really hit home that season. And then the last episode of each season was just kind of a wrap up.
Yeah, they had to like tie up some loose ends and stuff in the last one. I actually learned the word from Spanish class because you know the little accents you got to put over certain letters. Sometimes is determined by the penultimate syllable, and for some reason that's the only part of Spanish I remember. Everything else gone, but I know what a penultimate syllable is, and it's not helped me a day since. Every time I've spoken with the wonderful Spanish speaking family across the street, they have never once asked me like, "Hey, you
I
know
was,
where this accent goes?"
I was gonna say, and just for people, Shawn speaks Spanish fairly well. It's not that he doesn't. So it's that useless.
It's right. And I would say I'll give myself like a 5 out of 10, maybe a 6 out of 10 on the Spanish speaking scale, and I still don't need to know what a penultimate syllable is. I just remember where the accents go with the few words that I use. That's all I got. But hey, that's your linguistic
I meant
lesson
to
today.
say, this will probably be the last podcast done in this basement, and so pour
It's
one out for this basement. There'll be a new home soon. That
pour
probably
pour one out
and
makes
next
more
time I'm
sense for
recording.
you. Uh,
ne-
what's up?
Next time recording, I'll probably have up a lot of my stuff. I'll have probably a little bit of a new layout. So that's exciting. But this is the last podcast being recorded here. A lot of good
I think
memories
that
in this.
the next time we record would potentially be like a Christmas episode too. They don't really celebrate Christmas in Avatar: The Last Airbender, but
They don't.
we'll tie something in. They do it in the
Jesus
Dragon
Christ does
Prince. Is
not
there a Christmas
exist,
episode?
and
I don't think
yeah,
there
there's
is.
no, like, I feel like a lot of times in shows, like, they'll have like a stand-in
A parallel kind of deal.
holiday. Yeah, like, oh, this is gift day.
Maybe we'll go back and we will review Avatar Day. It's like the anti-Christmas. We'll go back and we'll look at that one. There's
It
murder.
is the
Everybody
anti.
hates the people they're celebrating. It's weird, but we'll flip it on its head. It got better at the end. Yeah, I think we'll do our first episode in your new home. Might potentially be some kind of Christmas something or other that we'll think about when the time comes. Or we'll just do what we usually do, which is forget that it's related to a holiday in the episode, and then in the text we'll put like "Merry Christmas" and call it a day. That's possible. Well, I'll miss your old house and your old shelves, but I'm presuming that in your new house there'll be more room for more shelves, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to. I may try just to keep myself from spending more money. And I found out that, in my experience, that every time I think like, oh, I have no more room, I just somehow make more room
That's a
in
gift.
in the yeah.
That's a God-given talent you have. Don't you? Don't
Which
you throw that away?
in my basement, there's a fireplace. So now, and there's a little shelf on the fireplace. I'm already thinking I'm gonna put all the Batmans there, which opens up a whole new more space on the shelf.
Are you concerned that your Batmans will get smoky colored, like the old video game consoles that would be in like smokers' houses, and they always get like a yellowy? Are you worried? I don't know what I have not
Oh,
used a
that's
fireplace
why
before.
those were yellow.
I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
that for a fact. I just know that it seems like white video game cases and things. The Nintendo Wii feels like you can. I don't want to accuse smokers. I'm sorry if you smoke. That's not my intention. But I just think of
No,
the
if you
Batmans.
smoke, stop smoking. The
We
people
want you to stop
I don't consider
smoking.
myself a judger. I don't consider myself that I judge people too harshly, but I judge the crap out of people who smoke.
We want you to stop smoking because we care. But
Especially when,
I don't know if
like, when I'm
there's
walking past someone smoking, I am obnoxious with my one thing because I really want to do that because I hate the smell of smoke.
that's it's amazing to me that you are like the least judgmental and least outspoken person I know. So it's funny to picture you just walking by a complete stranger in public, just coughing in their face, especially during COVID times. Like you pull your mask down just to cough on them. That's your form of judging. No,
No.
we judge because we care. No, it's worth thinking about. I'm not familiar with fireplaces. I've never like used a fireplace, but if there's any kind of residuals that get out and on, they might.
I will
I don't know.
honestly
Batman's
probably never
black.
use the fireplace. Maybe at most once a
If
year or two.
Batman is clad in black, maybe it won't affect his color scheme. I don't know. Interesting though that the fireplace that you could have Batman on the mantle. That's kind of fun. Feels right. Feels
Yeah.
right. Well, we look forward to that episode and getting into your new house, just because that means that life will be slightly less crazy. And on that note, also, if we have to have any kind of like weird filler episodes over the holidays just to fill the gaps, it is more important to me personally to put something out every single week, even if it's not regular. I like that kind of accountability, I guess. I know when I listen to podcasts, I get sad when they skip a week for even for legitimate reasons. They'll be like, "I died and my wife got remarried to somebody else," and I'll be like, "You could have put something. Could have put something.
No.
Could have done anything. Just let me know." So yeah, we will find a way to get something up every week if possible through the holidays. So that's my spiel. Any last news before we jump into this episode?
A few things. I found out that there's a Qatar statue coming out soon. It's made by Diamond Select, so that'd be cool.
Is Diamond
I
Select the
did.
one that made the Aang statue? The
Yeah,
Aang
they made
Statue of
one of the
Liberty?
ones. I thought that's. I know that's. Oh no, they did not make that one. I don't know who made that one, but that's a great statue. Diamond Select makes like $50 PVC statues, and I love them. I buy a lot of them. This guitar one looks okay. I'll probably buy it, honestly.
It's okay
But
enough.
yeah,
Okay enough. Sometime if we ever find, I have a friend who has a fairly high end 3D printer, and I never have any ideas. Like he's always excited about it, and I don't know what to use it for. But if we find a 3D model of a small statue, I want one and print it. And be like, my friend made this for me because my other friend suggested it, and there it is. He's always amped up about it, and I don't really know what. It's like it prints in 3D. That's very exciting. I don't know what to do with that, but maybe a small statue someday. I think it's a PVC like material. It's got the same. It comes in
yeah, I
like
don't
a.
think so.
It comes in like a roll. Like it's like a roll of. Almost looks like a reel of string, and then I guess it's melted or heated up and then printed or something or other. No idea. Not that techie. Looks cool though. I might have interrupted your news.
Nope, that's it.
This is Diamond Select. I hear good things from Chris specifically. From the person I talked to about statues. In that case, let's go ahead and jump into the episode because it is a pretty exciting one. I think there'll be a lot to talk about. It's called Skeletons in the Closet. So whenever you are ready to take us through.
I am ready. All right, so we're in like a full-on war now in Republic City. The Equalists are in control. Korra has sort of run away from Amon. It's interesting because over the loudspeaker you hear Hiroshi's Hato telling how the avatars run away, stuff like that. Of course, spend a little bit more time with Mako, which Asami takes note of it. Which
Verbally.
yeah, verbally. YouTube been gone for a while. doing reconnaissance.
Just picturing my wife, like, it's like, hey, you've been hanging out with this person doing reconnaissance. Don't worry about it. It's okay. They're not
Surveying
married.
that booty.
They're young people. It's fine.
Um, and uh, which it was interesting because at this point, I really thought that Asami was sort of about to turn because I mean she hasn't been given just her looks and everything from this episode, past episodes. I feel like oh maybe she's gonna turn, which I started to think like maybe that'd be interesting if she did turn right just a little bit, and then Korra sort of has to work to redeem her, and that would be kind of interesting thing because she started off as a foil, and then Korra being like, no, the equals have some points to them. Like, sure, they're going about this wrong way, but through Asami, I think we can come to amends, and then that would deepen their relationship, deepen their bond, and maybe set some stuff up for their future relationship.
I think that could be a pretty fun what if episode at some point. I think it'd be a lot of fun. But
Oh yeah,
I gotta be honest, I'm glad they didn't do it because I don't like romantic drama ever at all in the slightest. So I'm glad that wasn't part of it here. I like the direction they went, but I would still make a very exciting what if episode at some point.
yeah. So what's happening? Oh, the General Iroh. They're hanging out at Gomu's hideout.
I think is it
The
Gomu or
hobo.
Gamu?
I have no idea.
And you're not
I
wrong.
wouldn't
The
have been able
General
to tell you his
Iroh
name.
is there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's down
Um,
there with them, and they're kind of plotting their next move or trying to get a hold of the other, the remaining
well, not at
fleet or the next
first. At
fleet.
first, yeah. At first, he was on the ships, and then it's it was a trap, and
It's a
Hiroshi
trap.
has invented like airplanes, and I love this scene where the airplanes are all just like the way it's shot is really interesting because it's shot kind of like an old 1920s film or something, right? Like it's fuzzy, it's
I was
moving
gonna
around,
I was gonna
and then
liken
it
it to like a
focuses in
40s war film or like
40s
like
war film.
50s or
Yes,
60s, but about World War II or something. Like it has that kind of vibe
yeah.
to it, and it does
It
it
gave me
well.
the vibe of like Pearl Harbor, um, stuff like that. But no, that was really one thing. It's really cool to see the Avatar universe come even more into our world. It makes perfect sense, especially with Sato, everything.
When you say that, I just watched the most recent episode of The Mandalorian like 10 minutes ago. I just finished it up, and it
But don't
makes me
tell me
think of
about it.
how everybody comments on that being shot like a spaghetti western kind of, and that's get the same vibe from this being like the war films that your grandpa used to watch in black and white in the early going, not so much past the, but it's just I don't know something you don't see in a cartoon very often, not to that level of detail at least.
Yeah, yeah, really interesting choice. Which then we get to see Korra go against some ships, and honestly, this is one of the best displays of water bending. I mean, she water bends herself spout up like the size of these ships, and then she water bends ice up all the way. No one has done as much amazing water bending, I think, as Korra has shown her ability. Even I'm just talking about physical uh, skills here. Like we can measure these things. Like we can measure how long her spout is. Like that was longer than Aang's spout when we went to the Avatar state the first time. And then she's still able to bend really well. And then the plane crashed at the base of her spout, which made her crash down.
They do a good
And it was
job
cool
of sort of displaying or animating like kind of raw power in the same way that I sort of imagine when I read the Kyoshi novels.
mm,
Obviously with earthbending, but I get like, and this probably kind of inspired some of that mental imagery, but they do a really good job of visualizing just kind of raw power and waterbending form in a way that Katara and Aang never quite scratched to that extreme.
yeah. Yeah. So then, um, General Iroh's. Oh, I love seeing his firebending. He like he was taking out airplanes with just his bending. Like like so they had those like firebending cannons that he was using, and then at one point he was just using his straight up own firebending, which is really cool. It was kind of cool to hear Dante Bosco again. I probably would have given a different voice to General Iroh the second.
I was leaning the same way. I don't love that it's I don't love that it is Dante Bosco. I mean, I'm glad to hear him, but
yeah,
go. I don't even know. You can't really get close to his voice, though. Maybe that's the issue. Is there's nothing that's like kind of Dante Bosco voice, but not quite. It's like you're either Dante Bosco or you're not. So, well, whatever. It was nice to hear his voice.
Okay, so then they craft a plan. They go back to Gomo's hideout or whatever. Craft a plan that Korra and Mako are gonna go undercover, and this is where Mako and Asami break up. It's a pretty, decent breakup. They're like, "Hey, I'm sorry things didn't work out." So and so, lottie dottie. I would say Mako and Korra shared a moment like before this, like sleeping on Naga, which Mako wasn't the wrong there. Like he tried to kiss Korra, and Korra was like, "Eh."
That was weird for me. Like, why don't you chill, kid?
Yeah.
Take care of business
like,
first.
Like put it in, keep it in your pants, guy.
You damn kids, stop it.
So then they infiltrate the hideout, and they go up to the attic, and they find Tarlok just in the attic, locked up. And then Tarlok tells Korra, like, Amon kept me because I'm his brother. And that was a shocker. And like, I try to remember like how I felt the first time I watched it, because there were so many theories about Amon, and this was not one of them. It came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I would never have guessed it in a million years.
Yeah, so sometimes when there's a twist, which isn't even like a big twist. Sometimes when there's a twist, I feel like writers either go one of two ways. Oftentimes, they either do what's expected, or like Game of Thrones, do what's completely not expected. And I feel like Game of Thrones did that because they wanted to be like, nobody saw this coming type of deal. But I feel like the Avatar writers didn't go completely unexpected, because anyone's theories had holes in them. Anyone's theory about Amon, and so you could have went anywhere. Like if I had a theory about Game of Thrones that, oh, Jon Snow's gonna end up on Iron Throne, there's no holes in that theory. It's a valid prediction, but Game of Thrones is like, no, we don't want any valid predictions. And so when it comes to this twist here, everyone's predictions or theories about Amon, I don't think the writers were trying to do anything too out of nowhere. They just had a villain, and they said exactly why he could do what he's doing, and so it made sense. I would say. Oh, go ahead.
No, finish here. I don't want to interrupt your thought.
No, go ahead. 'Cause I'm about to go to a different thought.
I would say it's the only even minor issue. I'm overwhelmingly positive on where they took this and how it works, and I think it's a good explanation and it's very well thought out in advance. I love it. Just my only minor complaint is that I've never cared for when, like in this case, I would have wanted to be introduced to the villain at some point and just not know it. Like I don't like that the villain. What am I trying to say? Like it's kind of convenient, I guess, that they can sort of craft whatever backstory for him at this point, and we don't have to have been accountable for having met or seen him in any other circumstance other than Amon, who is suddenly this person we find out that we've never met before or anything. I don't know if I'm making a lot of sense, but I tend to prefer it if the villain, if we had actually kind of met the real villain at any other point in the story, where
I get what you're saying.
But again, I can't. We're talking really, really minor stuff, and I think they tied it all together really nicely. As far as twist, sort of not even huge twists, but yeah, just good twists or a nice place to find a villain and explain everything and wrap it all up. It's excellent in my opinion.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, Charlotte just lays everything out for him. Earlier today I was watching it, and at first I was thinking that him telling his flashback was a little felt very exposition-y. So we've gotten flashbacks before, and in this season I thought they were done really well because it's just Korra seeing the flashbacks. And I started thinking about like, well, I don't know how you would do this flashback any different besides him just narrating it. Like you would have had to, in order to not to do that, you would have had to like focus on this one story for like at least 2 episodes. So that was a little bit of a nitpick, but then I went back on it and said it was fine.
I wish he would have trimmed it up just a hair. I think there's a few things that potentially could have been cut out, but maybe it just kind of balancing how much time they had to fill and build up max dramatic tension. I feel like it could have been trimmed a smidge, but again, pretty minor.
One thing I would have liked, I would have liked more of Amon's character to have more of his basis or more of his beliefs intact when he leaves his father. Let me backtrack and I'll get to it. So we learn that that Amon is Noatak, the brother of Turlock and the son of Yakone. Yeah, Yakone got away, got plastic surgery, went to the Southern Water Tribe, which again, Aang putting band-aids on things didn't kill Yakone. We could have, and this led to Amon, and it led to Tarlok.
Because Aang knew this season needed a villain. Thanks, Aang. We appreciate it. You're thinking ahead. He's thinking about the franchise, He's not just thinking about this season. He's thinking about the franchise as a whole.
Yeah, that's true. and so he goes to the Southern Water Tribe and finds a woman, has 2 kids, and they're waterbenders, and he saw their bending as a chance for revenge, as a vehicle for his own power. Now, I would have liked, and they show that Noatak was really gifted, and they both boys learned blood bending through water bending, everything. And Noatak was really, really gifted, could do the psychic blood bending and everything. I would have liked so when Noatak goes against his father and rebels against him, he says like, "You think blood bending is so great? Like it's not the most powerful bending. Like it's not the most powerful thing the Avatar is. Like he took your bending away. What's more powerful than that?" I would have liked something different. I would have liked him to say like, "You think bending is so great, or you think blood bending is so great? You think bending is so great, but you're only using it as a vehicle of power. Like it's not great. Like you think bending is such a big deal, but the Avatar didn't even bend the elements to defeat you." So that would have planted in him that bending is terrible because his father used bending, used what he should have been. And when he learned water bending, it should have been beautiful for him. But the fact that he was a bender made his life horrible. I think if you would have put more of that into Amon's psyche and more into his motives, that would have fleshed out the character, and that would have, it would have taken flashback Amon and current Amon. It would have aligned them. It would have connected them a lot more. But right here, you're kind of like, well, how did he go from being a prodigy bender to being like against bending? And yeah, sure, Tarlok says like, oh, he was always, talking about what's equal and everything. But I think this would have taken a step further.
Would have just meshed it up.
Still a great story.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a kind of minor deal in the grand scheme, but it would have kind of hooked all the cogs together a little better. I like what you did there. It works as a nice enough motivation. Regardless, I'd be interested to hear all those in between years. How did he get from that kid to the Amon that was? Maybe not in like an episode form or anything as much as a comic or a short story of some type. Fan fiction people, help me out there.
Other Avatar news, I forgot. I'm just gonna interrupt what we're talking about. A Suki comic book is coming out. I'm excited about that.
Oh,
So it's
nice.
sort of they're talking about it's sort of like they're doing like a girl trilogy because they have the Katara one, they have a Toph one, which I'm not excited. I'm not excited for either one of those, and they have a Suki one. I'm excited for the Suki one because on the cover it's Suki, and then it's like Kyoshi, sort of like behind her. Not it was like a vision of Kyoshi behind her. So if I get to learn a little bit more about Kyoshi, then
If
I'll
we
do it.
send them our bracket, maybe they'll cite us as a source. Like these official people said that she's the best non-bender. It's
But
here. The science is all there. No, I saw that from one of our fellow Avatar podcast folks, the Avatar Hour podcast, I believe is what it is. Does that
yeah,
sound right? Avatar Hour podcast. Thanks for calling that out. I appreciate it. That's where I learned it. They beat you to it, Chris. They told me first. But um,
whatever.
I mean, I'm always game for more Toph stuff, so I was excited to see Toph for sure and Suki. Always interested to read more about Suki and Kyoshi, but I was definitely stoked to see some Toph in there as well.
Yeah. So back to the the episode. So Tarlok is telling Korra and Mako this story. The story ends with Tarlok leaving, and then and No Talk just ends up, not No Talk. Yakon just ends up dying of old age, which I find,
Pretty pathetic.
yeah, it's a pathetic ending. But I think Avatar sort of has a trend of like power hungry, powerful men ending a pathetic life. Like think about Katara's mother, Killer. He ended up being a shell of himself, living a pathetic life. Ozai had his being taken away, living a pathetic life. And now you have Yakone. Like maybe there's no redemption for them, right? Like even we see like in
But
the future we see
there's
a couple.
there's no redemption, but there's also like there's no redemption, there's no martyrdom. They're alive. They have
Mm.
some opportunity to create some redemption, and they don't. So
And that almost makes it. Oh, keep going. Sorry.
no, I think you're getting there. Is that
Yeah.
almost makes it not more satisfying necessarily to us as like bloodthirsty viewers, but more satisfying like punishment.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, yeah, just rot and end your miserable life alone because you suck. I'm sure that's not what Aang was thinking when he did these things, but
Yeah. Which is an interesting thing I think about the death penalty. Like I'm solely against the death penalty because it doesn't allow a person to. Well, for many many reasons. One thing, plenty of people have been killed who have been later found out to be innocent. Also, like also money wise, it's
it's
it
more
costs way
expensive
more. It costs way more to
significantly.
yes,
It's
way
it's
more.
it's tough to wrap my mind around, but it is significantly more expensive.
Yeah.
I'm in the
Um,
same boat. I tend to think that I would prefer some opportunity for rehabilitation. I
exactly.
know
Yeah.
our rehabilitation system is not that great either, but it beats the death sentence in my opinion. But yeah,
Yeah.
death penalty more
And
expensive than life in prison.
no, it is. Yeah,
Studied fact.
yeah, I've done some reports on that in college about it. Um, and some people are like, well, and one of the things and why it costs so much is because court trials and stuff and appeals and stuff like that. And some people are just like, well, just do away with those. And I'm like, well, wait, you don't want to do away
Can
with
we not
those
do away with those? Can we
because they
not do
might.
away with the saving grace to all
Yeah.
this? I was gonna make a joke.
Uh,
It's probably uncouth, but a joke about them always ordering the most expensive meal for their last meal.
yeah. Oh, Tosh 2.0 had or what is his name? Daniel Tosh had a joke. He was like, death penalty? Come on. We should definitely still have the death penalty. I mean, and the case against it is that oh, we might accidentally kill an innocent person. Remember when we accidentally killed a person? It was 2,000 years ago. And his name was Jesus Christ. And see how that turned out? Huh? Am I right, Christians? Am I right? I know I'm right. I read the Bible. Sure, it was a Cliff Notes version, but I read it. It
That's
said,
the
He
Cliff
died
Notes
for my
version.
sins so I can do terrible things and get in free.
That does like if Cliff Notes had a version of the Bible, I think he hit the nail on the Cliff Notes head right there. Uncouth, but untrue? I don't know.
Oh, well, anyway.
That's weird.
My
I feel like
point.
that's the second conversation I've had about the death penalty in like the last 3 weeks, which is, not, I don't know, it's a bit of a surprise. But anyway, good conversation. Always be thinking about the moral and ethical circumstances that surround your life. That's good mental exercise.
Yeah. Anyway, story ends in a pretty sad manner. And even Korra tells him, like, that's probably the saddest story I ever heard. And Tarlok seems to be very remorseful, which is interesting because he's different from his father in this, and like he's trying to make somewhat of amends for it. And it's interesting at the end of this, he says like, make this right, put an end to this terrible story. And as we learn, later on, Tarlok was very serious and sincere about putting an end to this sad story.
Can you remind me where this episode cuts off? Do they? I feel like they yell the truth at him, and we get that in this episode before it cuts off, and nobody believes him, or is that the next episode?
Nope. It ends right at the flashback.
Right after he says, "Go put an end to this sad story."
Yep.
Okay, got it. I've watched them all 3 or 4 times now, these last few episodes, and we've spread it out over a few weeks. But I never pay attention to, because unlike Hulu, Hulu take notes. It streams pretty seamlessly into the next episode, and never starts me back over at the beginning of the episode that I literally just finished. Hulu, unbelievable how that place has succeeded at all. Let's get to some ratings before I get madder thinking that I pay actual money for Hulu. Chris, go first.
Audiovisual, a 9. Because everything was pretty great audiovisually. From the plane attacks to, of course, waterbending. Flashbacks was good. Oh yeah, another thing I would have mentioned with the flashbacks. Random thing. They have wolves. And I'm pretty sure those are just buffaloes. Just
regular I didn't think about it till now, but now you're saying they're just regular old wolves.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, I don't know what's up with that. Weird. No one. Yeah.
Kind of lazy on the writer's part, don't you think? Come on, guys. They could have been.
I mean, what? I guess if I was concocting a wolf-like creature in the South Pole, it would be like maybe a polar wolf, polar bear wolf.
A penguin wolf?
That's much like a polar bear dog. Ooh, penguin wolf, yeah.
I don't know what that looks like, but it sounds hilarious. It sounds not dangerous enough. Maybe that was the issue. What's another dangerous freezing creature?
Walrus wolf. Ooh,
a wolfrus?
Wolfrus.
We're just inventing Pokemon now. That's all we're doing. Wolfrus. That's definitely a Pokemon.
I like Wolfrus. Although they always name their animals. I feel like Avatar's sort of lazy. They just put the names together. They don't try to like make a new animal name.
Okay, so Wolfrus sounds like it could be hilarious, but what if you take away most of the other walrus things and just take a wolf and then just give him huge fangs, and then your Wolfrus becomes horrifying. I actually kind of like where this is going. He also has a mustache.
Huge fangs and the tail.
And the tail, a massive muscular tail. This is a horrifying thing of nightmares. Come on, developers, share our ideas. We know you listen to our podcast. Story 9.
Even though I think it could have improved on that one aspect I talked about, still a really great story. I still really like seeing more about Amon. And memorable, an 8.5. I feel like this is where I've been. I feel like 9, 8.5 is what I've been rating most of these last couple episodes. Because they've been great, and so that gives me out to a 9.
Rounds up nicely. I was very similar. I did 8.5 on the audiovisual. I actually docked for the flashback because there was nothing special about it and dragged. It's funny how we think a little bit differently. I docked for the flashback, but I gave a lot to the story because it provided sort of the foundation for the entire series. Like, so many loose ends were tied up here. So I actually gave more to the story and docked the audiovisual because I was like bored watching. Not bored, but relatively speaking, it drug just a bit. But I was like, but you need all this. So I kind of flip-flopped how I thought about it, I guess. Memorable 9, as you might be able to tell, I kind of have issues telling where this one begins or ends. I don't always remember the beginning stuff, but I do always remember, or I do remember it distinctly. I say always, distinctly remember Tarlok's story and just how much, it might drag on, but we're still talking about, 7 or 8 minutes that wrap up, the foundation of the entire series. And that sticks. So 9.1, which brings us to a nice 9.0 average and an excellent episode.
Yep. I love that scene there. It's funny. He has like almost the same hairstyle as Korra. It's really interesting to draw those
like
parallels.
A nice nod. Yeah.
It's like that's like if Korra was a man, he would look like that.
Yeah, I could see that. The eyes, the way the eyes is a piercing. If like you think of piercing blue, I always feel like what's his name that was 007 with the artificially enhanced blue eyes. What was his name? Daniel something. Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig.
And he had like the artificially enhanced blue eyes, and I don't remember if that's one movie or whatever. I'm not the biggest 007 fan, but like
Casino Royale is a great film.
What's that?
Casino Royale, his first 007, great film.
I'm sure I saw it. I can picture him getting poisoned at a poker table or something.
Yeah,
and that's all I remember. That's all I have. It's gonna score very low on the memorable scale for me. But no, just to animate with flat colors, but to still get a piercing blue eye effect. That's kind of cool. Hey, that's all we've got to say about Skeletons in the Closet, which is about as exciting of a penultimate season episode as you could probably find for a not two-parter. But it is worth noting that these did air back-to-back. I checked that out the other day, and this one and the next one did air back-to-back. I think it's right to review them separately, though. They don't feel like a to-be-continued situation. So I think we made the right choice. That's all I got. This is Avatar: The Last Podcasters. That's Chris. I'm Shawn. You follow us on Instagram and Twitter at @last_podcasters. Or better yet, you probably get more content in general if you just follow Chris on Twitter at @objective_geek. That's probably where the majority of our social activity takes place anyways. But we also have Facebook, facebook.com/last_podcasters, I think. And it's all in the description. Go read it down there. Thanks for listening. We will continue to put something out as much as we can every week throughout the crazy holiday and Chris moving season. And on that note, we will talk to you next week. We'll see you later.